So hello friends, welcome to my new video. So today in this video, I'm going to discuss with you all about a very basic thing that we all should know, that is about pediatric prescription guideline. So the correction of refractive error in children is quite challenging, and it becomes more challenging in case of pre-verbal children, where the visual acuity status reliability is also quite less if the child is actually younger than 2 years. Right, so that's why everything depends on you, that what amount of refractive error you got and what you are going to prescribe. So suppose you are having a children in your clinic, then what are those steps or what are those things that you need to keep in mind before giving any glass prescription to the child? So in every children, you are getting children for workup and you are doing refraction, you have to do cyclopedia refraction in all children. It's very mandatory. You can use atropine, cyclopentolate or homatropine depending on the age of the patient, right? So what are those things that you need to keep in mind before doing workup or after doing the refraction of the patient? So first of all, see what is the history of refractive error, and then see what is the amount of refractive error, then see what is the age of the child, then see what is the visual need of the child, and then see is there any presence of anisometropia or not, or also you need to see associate strabismus is present or not. All those things you need to see before proceeding for your workup, right? So this is the normal vision, where you can see that the parallel rays of light which are coming from infinity getting focused on the retina. But in case of infant, when the baby took birth, at that stage the childs are actually plus 2 diopter of hypermetropic, and as the age grows, then they are moving to state of emmetropization or emmetropia. So emmetropia means light rays are getting focused on the retina, but when the child born take birth, at that stage childs are actually hypermetropic, where the axial length of the child, where this is the axial length of the child, it is actually 16.8 millimeter, where adults are actually having 23.4 millimeter axial length, right? And in case of corneal curvature, in case of children it is 56 diopter, but where in case of adult it is actually 47 diopter. Okay, and in case of lens power, in case of children it is 45 diopter, but adults are having 20 diopter, that is the lens dioptrical value. So this is the status of the child when baby took birth. And normally what we do, that whatever whenever we found that the person is actually having, or the patient is actually having hypermetropia, we put convex lenses in front of the eye to correct. But in case of, it's quite different from adult workup. In pediatric workups you need to see many things, right? So that we are going to discuss in this video. So we will start from myopia. Okay, then we will go to hypermetropia. Okay, so in case of myopia, it is especially common in those infants who are premature. Then in those patients myopia is quite common. Okay, so you need to so if your patient is actually less than 1 year of age, and you found that the child is actually having a refractive error of 5 diopter of myopia or more than 5 diopter, you can give the correction. But if the child a refractive error that you got is less than 5 diopter, then you just keep and wait and watch that what is the change of refractive error, and call the patient in a 6-month follow-up visit or 3-month follow-up visit, and see what is the change of the refractive error. You don't need to give the correction if the refractive error is actually less than 5 diopter. Okay, now if the child age is actually 1 to 2 years of age, and you got the refractive power that is 4 diopter or more than 4 diopter, you can give the correction to the child. But if you get a refractive error that is less than 4 diopter, you can wait and watch, defer the correction and wait and watch what is happening. Okay, and in case of if the child is actually having age that is 2 to 3 years of age, then you can give correction if the child refractive error is more than 3. But if it is less than 3, just you can defer. Okay, but if the child is actually school going, and she is school going, and then at that stage, after doing the cycloplegic refraction, whatever myopic refractive error you are getting, just give the full correction. So another thing you need to keep in mind, whenever you are giving the myopic correction to the child, you have to give the minimum correction to give the maximum visual acuity. Okay, so sometimes what we do, we actually use concave lenses, right? We actually use these concave lenses to correct myopia. So this concave lens, what it does, that this concave lens actually diverts the light rays, right? So whenever we are placing this concave lens in front of the eye, then you can see it is diverging and it is moving the focusing point which was previously focusing in front of the retina. It is now focused on the retina. That means we are making the patient hypermetropy. So if you correct the child with higher amount of myopia minus lenses, then the child will shift to hypermetropia rather than the light focus will point behind the retina, not on the retina. At that stage, what the child will do, child will induce their accommodation to make the focusing point on the retina. At that stage, the child will eventually develop the symptoms like asthenopia, headache, and all those things. So that's why all these things you need to keep in mind and use the minimum correction to give the maximum visual acuity. Okay, so to see whether you are doing over correction, under correction, you can use red green filter test, that is also known as duochrome test, right? So if the child is actually more than 6, school going, and myopic, you found the patient is actually myopic, you can use duochrome test and see whether you are over correcting the patient or not. Okay, now let's move to hypermetropia. So in case of hypermetropia, the correction is actually quite different. So in case of hypermetropia, what is happening that the light rays are getting focused behind the retina, right? So, and also another thing I want to tell you that I told you about the process of emmetropization, where the eye is actually moving, growing, and also it is shifting to state of neutralization, where the light rays are getting will get focused on the retina. That is called as emmetropization, right? Emmetropic eye have no power, right? That means no refractive error. Sorry. So to achieve that emmetropization, I move to hypermetropia to emmetropization. That means light rays will get come to focus in this point, right, from the here. So this process actually get complete at about the age of 6 years. It takes 6 years to complete the process of emmetropization. So you need to keep in mind the process of emmetropization also, whether whenever you are giving the correction to the child, it should not affect the child normal process of emmetropization. Okay, so now if your patient age is actually less than 2 years of age, and you found that the patient is actually refractive error, there is very high refractive, high hypermetropic patient is there is more than 6, you have to give the correction to the child. But if you get that the child refractive error is actually 6, less than 6, then you can give the child partial correction. That means suppose you got the patient refractive error is actually 4 or 4.5, you can give the child partial correction like +2 or +1.5. That means you are correcting the child but not fully, partial correction, so that it will not affect the process of emmetropization also, right? And also the patient asthenopic symptoms, all those things will go on, right? And call the patient in a 6-month follow-up manner, right? Now if the child age is actually 1 to 2 years of age, and you found that the child is actually having refractive error plus or more than plus or more than +6, you have to give the correction. But if it is less than 5, like +4 or +3, you can defer, or if you want to give the correction, give the partial correction. Okay, and another thing you need to keep in mind, that whether there is a presence of strabismus or not. If the strabismus is present with hypermetropia, give the full correction to the child. Okay, and every time whenever doing the workup of every children, you have to do cycloplegic refraction, and after that give the correction. Okay, so make sure that the child is having not having strabismus. If the strabismus is present, then you have to give the full correction whatever you are getting, and counsel the patient that the child have to use the glasses every time, so that it will correct the strabismus also, because you know that stage that is called as accommodative esotropia, where the child actually use his or her accommodation to correct the hypermetropia, so that the eye turn inward. So that at that stage you can give cycloplegic drop to the child, as well as you give the full correction to the child. Okay, so that is how you will correct the case of hypermetropia. Okay, and if you found that the child is actually having hypermetropia more than 1.5 or more than 3, and the child age is actually after 6, that is school going, do the cyclorefraction and give the full correction to the child. Okay, now if I talk you about the astigmatism. So astigmatism means there is multiple focusing point, right? So the patient can have myopic astigmatism, or the patient can have hypermetropic astigmatism. Whatever the condition it is, if there is a presence of astigmatism, give the full correction of a cylindrical power, because accommodation cannot correct the astigmatism, right? So that's why you have to give the full correction of astigmatism to the child to avoid the chance of developing meridional amblyopia. Another thing I want to tell you, that suppose the patient is first time wearer and you got the very high amount of refractive error, then what you can do, that you can give quite under correction. It can reduce the patient visual acuity, but in case of first time wearer, it's quite difficult to adaptation for that specific glass. Suppose you it is having more than +6 or more than -6, you are giving the glass prescription, it's quite difficult for them to adaptation. For that, that's why you can give under correction, and in a follow up manner you can increase the power, do the refraction regular in a 6-month interval and give the correction. Okay. And in case of an astigmatism, where there is multiple focusing point are there, you can give full correction of astigmatism. But if spherical error as well as astigmatic error is there, depending on the amount of spherical error, you just decide what you are going to give. Okay, I will show you. This is the overall guideline for pediatric glass prescription, but it also varies from country to country, region to region. So you have to see what is the visual need of the child, and also what is the amount of anisometropia. In case of anisometropia, if the difference is more than +2.5, then you have to give full correction to the child. But if it is less, then you can give under correction to the poor eye, and in a follow up manner just observe what is going on, right? So similar thing are for myopia also. Like in case if anisometropia is more than 2 or -2 or +2, there is 2 diopter of difference is there in both eye refraction, you can give the full correction. And also you need to ask the child that is there a doubling of vision is there, or imbalance is there. You then, after giving monocular correction, you also need to do binocular balancing. Okay. And in case of aphakic patient, I don't think glass prescription are a good option. Just you can advise them to have intraocular lens implantation. After that, you can additional correction you can give the patient. Okay, so that's all, friends. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.